One of my favorite elements to roleplay at the table is a character flaw. However, they can be very difficult to pull off, especially in a way that's not detrimental to the overall table's experience. How do you play a flaw without your fellow players hating you? Let's start with communication. Tell everyone up front what your character's flaw is, and make sure everyone's on board with it. There are certain flaws that are complete no-goes for specific groups, and I would much rather learn this before the game starts, so I can adjust, rather than me ruining someone's day when I bring it out. But even after you've expressed what your flaw is, depending on the severity of it, it's good practice to check in if your flaw has been particularly prevalent that session. Now, let's get into the fun part. So when it comes to playing flaws in general, you have to earn it. How much work you have to do depends on what kind of flaw you're playing, and how you play it. For example, if you routinely get the entire party into trouble, and do so without much art to your execution, you're not going to be able to play that flaw very much before everyone gets tired of it. You earn the right to play a flaw, and that depends entirely on your fellow players and the DM. You can think of this as like a point system, though it won't be as cut and dry as that, because every player's threshold is different. This earning process begins with introduction. If you get to narrate a moment, then use that to show the flaw, so then people know what to expect. I know, we've told them already, but saying that I'm playing a character that's cocky, overly confident in their own abilities, to the point of thinking they're better than everyone else, is very different from how we actually execute that trait. We can use our introduction scene to show this to everyone, so they aren't blindsided by this flaw, because being surprised by a flaw, when the character didn't seem to have it in them the entire time, feels out of character. Like when someone in a movie does something that doesn't make sense. If you're funny, or if the group happens to enjoy your narration, you might earn more points to do things with your flaw. Intro scenes are great for this, because they usually don't have much in terms of mechanical impact. If the DM gives me some creative freedom, I'll use it to showcase my flaw. For example, Matt, where's Glardo in the festival? Glardo's gonna be at one of the games of chance. Maybe like the ladder that twists and turns when you try to climb it. You have to reach the top and pull the lever to win. Before he takes to the ladder, he's gonna announce to the most recent competitors and say, "I understand, you've all been bested by this beast, this behemoth, and I'm here to tell you that I will win. For you all, I will show this game, this festival, this entire town, and soon the world, that I am the best." Now the DM might have me roll to do the thing, and ideally, this is a situation where I want to lose if I'm rolling, because it's kinda nice to see someone who's full of himself lose. In which case, acrobatics? I got a 9. You don't make it. You might get up 2 rungs before you plummet. Glardo falls, red in the face. Wait, I wasn't ready. Clearly, this is a challenge worthy of my full attention. I need to warm up. As he's getting up, the children and other spectators are laughing at him. He's gonna walk back and start stretching. This loss allows me to give Glardo something relatable. He failed. Failing amidst flaws is much better at getting our fellow players on our side, potentially rooting for us. But what if we want acrobatics? That's a 22. It's difficult, but you are able to make it and pull that lever of victory. How does this look? Glardo pulls the lever. The crowd cheers and claps. Glardo, hearing this, really wants to revel in it, so he pulls himself to the top rung, standing proudly with his fist in the air. "Victory is mine, just as I said. Thank you for your praise, your respect, your adoration." At this point, I would gauge the other players' reactions. If they're interested, I might stop the moment right here. I've shown my flaw, and I've created a fun moment. If they're not invested, it's understandable, because all I did was play a flaw and win, which might not be that compelling. It feels more like villain territory. In this case, I might give myself a loss in some way anyhow. Glardo sees a pretty woman watching. He's gonna give her a wink, and start to try to skip towards her on the rungs of the ladder, forgetting how treacherous they were. His smug look suddenly shifts to panic as the ladder turns, flipping him onto the ground. He'll look up, red in the face, and see that pretty woman shake her head and walk away. Why do I give myself a loss at all? Why not just win? Firstly, it's a flaw. I don't want everyone to feel like my character's flaw is more beneficial than detrimental. I should pay for my flaw in some way. This allows me a chance to do that, to show the other players my flaw twice, and finally get my comeuppance for my cockiness. It's the payoff for overconfidence, and it allows me to play my flaw without harming the other players. It's a fun little flavor pane issued to me only. Which brings me to a critical point about playing flaws that the party will enjoy rather than hate. If your flaw is more harmful to the group than to your individual character, it's going to be harder for the group to accept it. That's fairly straightforward, right? People don't want to be the ones paying for your actions, because they didn't earn those consequences. So if you can do more actions that put the consequences squarely on your character's shoulders, and the rest of the party doesn't have to deal with it, those are great. If something requires someone else, or the whole party to bear the burden, you better have earned the right to that. that. Space out flaw moves. Now when it comes to your flaw, a big mistake that people make is that they make their flaw their entire character. I'm greedy, so I'm gonna steal from everyone every chance I get. I'm lecherous, so I'm gonna hit on anyone and everyone, which gets old fast. Your character is flawed, but they're not just that. They have their personality, they have their abilities, they're more than just that flaw. And so you have to space out when you want your flaw to be highlighted, when it's a problem. I gauge this by measuring how much I've used this flaw, how entertaining it's been, and how detrimental it's been to the party. If I've used the flaw and gotten huge reactions without much damage to the party, great. I might look for another opportunity if it presents itself, but I wouldn't feel the pressure to because I've gotten it off already. If I've used the flaw and it's been a dud, I might give it a rest for a while because the party's not feeling it right now. If I've used it and it's hurt the party a lot, it might be time for me to chill out on the flaw a little bit so I don't wear out my welcome. The main point is that I use flaws as another tool for fun at the table. It'll hurt my character, but hopefully in a compelling and entertaining way for everyone else. But I pick my spots, so it doesn't become boring, and it doesn't feel like, really, Glardo? Again? Modulate your flaw. Playing a flaw doesn't mean you have to go all out every time. Someone who's greedy who sees a massive pile of gold doesn't have to go swimming into it immediately. That would be an extreme reaction. You can modulate this down into, my character sees the pile of gold, and you see his eyes widen, his mouth agape. He starts to salivate. Or, my character sees the mountain of money and you see him turn away. He's trying to ignore it, as though he doesn't see it. But every now and then he's using his peripheral vision to peek, as he daydreams a plan to get a hold of that gold. If you feel like your flaw has been in your face a lot lately, you can dial it down so that it's present, but it's not as blunt. More of an internal or subdued reaction versus a big display. For our cocky, better than everyone flaw, we can have them look at a situation where there's a performer on stage, and rather than upstaging them immediately with a performance of their own, which would be an extreme reaction, we can have them do a little mental critique, perhaps muttered to a character next to them. Glardo sees the magician and can't help but mutter, he's clearly holding it in his left hand. I can't imagine anyone being fooled by this. I could learn that in 15 minutes. So then you're staying true to your flaw, without necessarily going 0 to 60 in this very moment. Pros and cons. Another gauge for how much you can play a flaw is how helpful you've been at the table. You can make a pros and cons analysis about Glardo. Every time Glardo is helpful, that's a pro. Every time Glardo gets us in trouble, that's a con. We want to make sure that in spite of our flaw, we're still a net positive when it comes to our presence at the table. So it's better for the team to have us on the squad rather than kick us out. But how do we build up that pro list? Be a good player, attentive, helpful. All the elements that enhance the other characters and players' experience. Like I said, your character is more than their flaw. So beyond the flaw, they should be a good experience for your teammates. And presumably you should be a good experience as a player at the table too. I could make a whole video on being a good teammate. As a matter of fact, I will. But for this moment, I'm going to give you a tool focused on your flaw that can also create positive moments for your team. Incidentally helpful flaw moves. Incidentally helpful moves are wonderful for flawed characters. You as a player have to jump through some hoops in order to do this, but those are hoops that help you earn more positive associations with your character. You start by focusing on making a teamwork move first, and then justify your actions with your flaw. For example, the evil mage has their eyes set on you, William, after you started attacking the pillars of power. How dare you try to interrupt my ritual? You'll pay with your life. Okay, Glardo, you're up. Glardo will give a wink to William and start walking up to the evil mage with a smirk. Don't worry about him. He's just one of my servants setting the stage for the main attraction. A little flourish with his hands. Me, Glardo the Great. In fact, I might even let you work for me if you prove yourself a worthy servant. Mechanically, Glardo's trying to draw the attention away from William, providing a juicy target for the evil mage. So in this case, I've got Glardo moving forward, in effect insulting the evil mage as well as his own party member. However, the out-of-character narration gives us more of a team-first mentality. Glardo wants to taunt the evil mage. I want Glardo to take the hit, so that William gets the chance to keep making those moves against those pillars. This isn't the smartest move, but I'm coding it in the flavor of taunting the evil mage and insulting the party member so that we can keep playing with the flavor of the flaw while being reasonably team-oriented. This allows us to do what we wanted to do, to focus in on our team's efforts while feeding into our flaw, so that if it works, our flaw play ends up being another notch in the pro column as opposed to another con. Consistency and dependability. The more you play your flaw while endearing your character to the team, the more other players will grow to expect your flaw and depend on you. If we keep our presence more positive than negative, initiative. The other characters will be able to work around your flaw, so that if a situation presents itself where your flaw would be completely detrimental. The Duke hates when he's upstaged. The other players might be able to recognize it and adapt. So we'll have to keep Glardo away from the Duke. And maybe you can even do this in character. Maybe there's a little character development, a little self-awareness where you can establish a relationship with the other characters. Glardo says, I know I can be a little much sometimes. Would you mind making sure that I don't go too far? Yeah, how do you want me to tell you? Do 2 thumbs up if I'm going too wild. Which not only allows you to keep your flaw in check, but gives you a chance to build a stronger bond with another character too. Finally, I want to talk about overcoming a character flaw. We are the culmination of our failures and successes. Our characters can be too. Glardo's overconfidence, his cockiness, might eventually reach a breaking point. Maybe the other characters get close enough where he breaks his facade. Glardo, why are you so cocky? Where I come from, everyone's stuck at the bottom. If anyone tries to go higher, to advance, they get pulled down. I learned early that if I don't think of myself as the best, or even good, no one will. Well, we do. What? We think you're good. Which could be a beautiful change, to adjust our character into a little more moderation, maybe a little more self-restraint. The evil Duke looks out in the crowd. Will no one challenge my performance? Is everyone here so uncultured and weak? I'm looking at Glardo. Me too, ready to stand beside him. Glardo looks at them like he doesn't know what they're thinking. What? Why are you looking at me? Huh, it's odd to see you so controlled. But every now and then we can see it again. It'll be like an old friend resurfacing. The evil Duke grabs one of the spectators. If no one is entertaining enough, maybe I'll slay one of you for my own entertainment. Oh my gosh, someone's gotta do something. I look towards Glardo. Glardo is not there anymore. DM, may I? Please. The candles in the theater go out. You all hear a booming voice from the back. Duke! I heard you were looking for entertainment. Glardo casts dancing lights, which spiral and illuminate him. He stands prominently on the edge of one of the VIP balconies. Well, Duke, be careful what you wish for. Yes! Let's go! So I hope that helps you in your journey in playing a flawed character. If you enjoyed that, please leave a like, subscribe, it really helps me out. If you want more clarification on this or any other subject, leave a comment. But until next time, stay safe and take care.